So if I wanted to be a little nicer to Keith, I could just move that up a little bit and say, all right, we're only going to interrupt your strength 20%. So when he could no longer get this line, his real-time force output, into the green zone as dictated by his strength today, we cut the workout. Okay, so you're going to see this spike, and you're going to see Keith competing against himself in real time. So this was about 25%. We'll do 2 repetitions, so this looks like what you did, and go from there. Alley-oop, power up. So you see his real-time work output compared to what he's done previously. 2, 1, hinge like you're deadlifting. Make that line go back up. You see he creeps back into it because he's on the eccentric. This number's moving up higher, 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 right there. Lean back and pull, fast, fast, fast. You see he gets it back. He's running after it. He's still in the green zone. 2, 1 right there. Lean back into it. Spike that eccentric. So you're going to go higher the second time because that's what it does for Keith. Just a little higher. There we go, right there. 1 more full range rep. So he's having trouble getting back up into it. You can see that in real time. Last negative. Hang on to it. Drag it up, Keith. Approach it. Approach it.
Get to it.
And we'll call it.
Good.
So you can see, if you bring the camera back closer, whatever the angle you need, he's peaking. He's peaking. By the 3rd rep, he barely creeped into that. So the 4th rep, if this was one of my clients, I'd call it because I know he wouldn't make it to the green zone again.
Welcome to the 21 Convention Podcast. My name is Steve Maeda, and I'm your host for today's episode. Today, we got Mark Alexander. He is a fitness expert, an entrepreneur, a true visionary. And what's so important about this podcast is we combine them all. And it truly represents what the 21 Convention is all about, being the ideal man and expressing it to the world. Now, Mark founded Efficient Exercise, which started out in Austin, Texas, and has since spread throughout. But you may have heard of that because Keith Norris and Skylar Tanner are also rooted out of there. They're 21 Convention speaker alumni at multiple conventions. Now, Mark also is the CEO of something that we get into in great depth in this podcast, which is ARX Fit. It's an amazing tool for, working out, getting more muscle and getting more bang for your buck. And we will get very, very deep into that piece of technology. Now, if this is your first time checking out what we got going on at the 21 Convention, subscribe to our channels. Whether you're listening to this on iTunes, whether you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, subscribe, get involved with what we're doing. We love to hear about you. We personally get back to every single comment that's put out there. And of course, if you want to take it a step further, go to the 21convention.com and see what we've got going on there. Hey, here we are with Mark Alexander. What is going on, man?
I'm doing all right. How about you, Steve?
Doing fabulous. We're both actually in Austin, Texas, which is very cool. The epicenter of everything, which is like making life change. But what we want to talk about are a couple things. Now, number one, as we had conversations about a little bit earlier, you founded a company called Efficient Exercise in Austin, where I have worked out at and is amazing. Skylar, we've interviewed. Keith, obviously, is a big part of the convention. But also ARX Fit, which if people do not know about, they need to know about. In fact, God, I've been thinking about since, we just a few days ago, we were at one of Mark's facilities, and it was, that machine is phenomenal, and there's only been amazing improvements since. But also, you're a part of the Paleo FX as well.
Correct. Yeah.
So, what's the best definition and introduction that you could give yourself? Because you have so many things.
Yeah. Well, I like to have a lot going on. I kind of, if people ask me what I do, I guess I usually say a health and wellness entrepreneur, because I like to get things up and going, get the right people in place, the right teams in place, and then kind of get the hell out of the way. There are times when I recognize that, maybe I could be doing this or that, but I've tried to, and not perfectly by any means, but tried to be, aware enough of when I'm needed and when I'm not. And you brought up Efficient Exercise. Yeah, I founded that February of 2001. So almost, well, probably by the time this airs, 14 years ago, which sounds kind of wild in some ways. But, of course, it was just me and starting it out. And now I've got a great team. You mentioned Skylar Tanner, another 21 Convention speaker, Keith Norris. They're both business partners in Efficient Exercise with me now. And they really run the show a lot more than I do. Of course, we're there and we keep things moving forward and I kind of monitor growth and things. But, they're really the dudes, if you will, in that business, much more than me. I'm way more behind the scenes in that business. And then, selfishly, kind of always being an efficiency fanatic, I thought, well, surely there are better tools for the job in that particular business. And so through mutual friends, and Skylar being one of them, I was able to connect with an inventor, Randy Rindfleisch. And Randy and I have been working on what is the technology known as ARX, or adaptive resistance exercise, for a good handful of years now. And yeah, just now we are at the state where we're about ready to launch it into a production mode. So we've been kind of making it, doing beta testing, do a lot of research and development over these last 5 years, and we're at a great place right now to where, yeah, I've got a few more gray hairs right now, but it's well worth it, because I think this tool is phenomenal, and it will, once people experience it and understand it, get their hands on it, they really understand it a hell of a lot more. So,
man, I gotta actually this. I got to get to some entrepreneurship questions for you. I wasn't even thinking about asking, but so many guys that are into the 21 convention, and such a huge part of it is business. I mean, if we're going to have independence, if we're going to be the best version of ourselves, you have tremendous experience in this in very different ways. But man, let's start off about the fitness stuff, because it's something that's really been on my mind a lot. The first time I ever set foot in an efficient exercise, it was a smaller area. And, Keith was there, you were there, Anthony Johnson was actually working out. And, I actually had maybe just started working out from the age 16 to 30. Nothing, just nothing. And a whole lot of abuse that went in there too. But, I saw him work out, and he nearly passed out. He almost, got nauseous, and I was like, what is this? All he did was, I think maybe a leg press. Yeah, it was a leg press, because he said his legs were sore for like a week, and some pull-ups, and maybe, something else.
Some kind of press, I think. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, it was very simple though.
And it was the one of the earlier versions of the ARX machines, and I was like, oh my God, I got to check this out. And I think within 9 months, I was working out with you guys and with your team, and I've never felt that strong. I could say a lot about the ARX. It's a very amazing machine that it's hard to describe exactly how it works, but it's like nothing else. That all being said, man, what is health to you? This pursuit that you've been going after, trying to perfect in an efficient way, built a business that's, gone 14 years at excellence. And when I talk about excellence, I mean world class. What is this thing that we're going for? What is health?
Yeah, well, I think it has to be sustainable. That's probably one of the first things that comes to mind. So, we we always hear is, well, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to exercise. Well, no, we've taken that excuse off the table now. We've condensed and truncated what you need from exercise for health. And let's get that right. It's for health. If you're an athletic endeavors and high performance athlete, I know you like jiu-jitsu and time on the mat. You've got to spend time, in your skills and technique and whatever it is your pursuit is. You have to do that. But the nuts and bolts of the exercise and the proper resistance training is fairly simple. A lot of gurus want to tell you it's got to be this and this, and you got to split the routine. You got to, it's like, well, that can work, but we've tried to really keep it simple and keep it sustainable. And if you really don't do that, it's not going to last very long. And so our big tenets with efficient exercise and with ARX as well is safe, effective, and efficient. We've got to always meet those. We give our trainers some liberty under what they might do for a particular client's goals. But at the end of the day, we want it to always be safe, effective, and efficient.
Yeah. And then, man, what makes it different? Because there's so many different, look, I mean, I've worked out there, I can vouch for it. And I know people that have worked out with you guys and gotten very specific results, but what makes your model different? What makes your series, and this is the crazy thing, Skylar, Keith, yourself, everybody else involved with the company, and you guys have a bunch of trainers now. What makes you guys so unique? Because there's tons of people giving fitness advice that, it's sold as unique.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of a team player approach, setting egos aside, learning from each other, and leveraging high quality talent. I mean, I think that we have a lot of high quality talent on the team, and people that are, there are a lot of people that they can own their own health and fitness journey pretty well, but they're not good teachers. And we don't want those people. We want people that not only walk the walk themselves and own their own health, but then can convey that to other people. So that's a big quality we look for. Sometimes, even at the expense of experience, we take people on because we see that willingness, we see that, drive, if you will. And hey, maybe they haven't trained a day in their life. Sometimes we still take them on and then empower them with the right tools. So ARX is kind of the cornerstone, if you will, of a lot of our programming. And because it allows a person, really, it doesn't matter so much. It does, but it limits, I guess, the impact of experience, if you will, in terms of the practitioner side, the trainer side. You can deliver a high quality workout without, it's literally the push of a button, but it's a little more than that. But again, it's not much more than that. So the software helps guide, keeps everybody accountable, shows the progress. And again, it is kind of quite literally pushing buttons to make sure that everything's going properly.
Man, and to speak on behalf of the ARX, from my understanding, because it's very hard for people to, it's very simple, but for people to realize the benefits of this, I worked out on it, I believe maybe in 2010 or 11.
Probably so, yeah.
And it was pretty unreal. So what this does is it can do all sorts of different exercises, squats, leg presses, like a chest press, lat pull down, many different movements. And I think now they're even a wider range of that. But it has a positive and negative. Mm-hmm. And currently you can control the speed of that. And I believe you could when I worked out on them. But it goes at one pace.
Yeah. So, if you want me to describe it, and again, you're right, it does take a little bit of doing sometimes to properly describe it. But it is this man versus machine phenomenon. We know the machine is going to win, but we can manipulate those variables and see on the software that, hey, we can see exactly what is going on during that set at any given time, even really down to microseconds. So the adaptive nature of it is that there's a motor, computer-controlled motorized resistance that's dictating, kind of the show there, if you will. And the performance of the set is displayed and stored in the software. So in other words, yes, the speed it's not technically the same all the time because we purposely program slower and smoother starts and stops so that there's no jerking of the loading. And so that's by design. It's also by design that we've designed the machines around large compound exercises. So leg press, squats, deadlifts, pull downs, various angles of pressing. In other words, you don't have to do a whole lot of exercises if you do the big compound movers. And so I know a lot of listeners probably know Body by Science and Doug McGuff's kind of big five. So there's some similarities, if you will, to that in that, besides maybe the exception of we like to add a hinge movement, like a deadlifting type of movement, there's really not a whole lot of difference in terms of what our exercise prescription is versus, say, like a big five type of routine. And then again, the motor is going to win, the machine is going to win. But we can go at all-out effort, 100% effort at all times if we want. That's what we like to show people. And what it also does is it really takes advantage of the fact, if you draw out a strength curve, again, I'll try to back up here, and as we're lowering a weight like a barbell bench press, we can handle more force or exert more force than we can when we're trying to lift it off our chest. And again, I just use that example as a common one that a lot of people know. So in a gravity-based system, we have to select a weight that we can continue to get out of the sticking point or the weakest link, if you will, in that exercise. And that's a linear progression. So let's say that's 135 pounds. Well, we have to select that, even though maybe we could have lowered 250 pounds. Well, we didn't get to take advantage of that because you don't have these little elves running around trying to shed plates and then throw them back on, and you just can't do it. You can get closer with something like a chain or a band or a Nautilus cam, for example. All those are great ways to get towards that end goal. But then it doesn't take into account limb lengths. It doesn't take into account individuality, fatigue, rate of fatigue. So a lot of host of factors that we're capitalizing on the fact that it is truly adaptive as the set goes on, and it doesn't matter who it is. So somebody like Keith, who a lot of people might know, brick house of a guy, he can sit down, and then, his mom could sit down quite literally, and there would be no setting changes. It's going to adapt to Keith or his mom or whoever else, gets on, and you don't have to make any setting changes, which is pretty cool from a client density, as we call it, getting more people in per hour, if you will. We can flow people through so quickly because you don't have to do a whole lot of setup, get on, go. So.
Yeah. And actually, let me tell you about my first experience working out at Efficient Exercise. Same thing happened to me. Almost passed out, had to sit down. Took me about 5 minutes to even be in a place where like panic sets in. It's pretty intense. And, I can tell you the other times that has happened working out, and it's only one other time while doing a very, very strenuous, leg exercise that just, but it took my body to get used to working out in that way.
Yeah.
Let me actually tell you about the benefits that I had, because this is kind of the most important thing that I think with ARX that is so key. I remember I was training jujitsu, and I was wrestling with a guy, a very, very strong guy, a smaller dude, but extremely strong, like total body strength. And, he just had man, he was good. I mean, he was, I was a beginner back then, and he was like a brown belt or something, which was, man, like,
more advanced.
Been training for like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And I was stuck in a position, and, I'd been in this position many other times, and I pressed, and it was, I don't know how long, but maybe it was 10 seconds, which is a long time of exerting your muscles.
Yeah, it is.
And I just remember I had full strength, and throughout the entire, press of my arm.
Yeah.
Nothing has done that for me. Nothing ever. I've worked out with plenty of amazing guys that I could say great things that are unique in their awesome ways. Doing, like working on the negatives, going slower, adding weight on the negatives, using chains, anything like that. Nothing compares to that enduring, constant, it's not just, it's actually breathing, while exerting my full force. And, well, maybe not my full force, but my body was used to it. Managing that sort of workload and strength. I've never felt anything like that has replicated, that's come close to it. So that is extremely unique. And the other thing is, man, I actually forget the sets and the, different workout that I did. But, man, it was like 20 minutes. And I think I would do maybe 5, at most 5 reps of whatever I was doing. And after the third one, I was dead. I mean, after the third one, it was just going through the motions if there was anything after that.
Well, and even our experience has shown kind of what we like to prescribe, if you will, in sets and in rep schemes on ARX. And, you say 2010, 2011. I mean, we've had a few years under our belt to kind of know what works well.
Yeah.
And so we've even been able to grow and kind of experience, well, maybe that's too much. Okay, now maybe we back it up, or maybe we do 2 shorter sets and go chase. And another cool thing about software is if you do a first set, you could go and do a second set and try to beat yourself. Either that being the same day or a subsequent workout. So.
Yeah. And that when I was working out on the machines, it didn't have that awesome graph. There was something else that you could watch. But it's also very hard to concentrate when you are. I mean, guys, if you do not like the amount of force you're doing, because like you said, if I'm, have a 70-pound dumbbell and I'm doing a press on it, I'm going to stress myself. But there's probably somewhere in that motion where I could take 100 pounds or 120 pounds. So on this machine, you will be doing that. And you can actually see where you're doing that. It's hard for me to watch in real time because it's so insane. But afterwards, you can look at it. Man, what are some of the results that you get for people? Because you have a wide range of clientele, from people just trying to get in shape, getting back in shape, to athletes. What are those results?
Yeah, well, and I'll just back up real quickly just so you kind of know our audience, if you will, and know who we serve primarily. I mean, there are some athletes that we serve, and athletes are great. You say jump, they say how high. And they're a great population to work with, but they don't always pay the bills. And I know a lot of trainers don't like to hear that. So we really aim to serve, I guess, more the 80-20 rule, or more of the masses, people that don't have time, people that are busy. Usually it's a working professional or a mom or whatever it be. But and our demographics usually about 35 to 55. Of course, we have outliers, but just kind of the working professional, if you will. And so with that crowd, what we see is that people get phenomenally stronger, no doubt. And then again, as much as I love exercise and love, what it does for you, if you don't have a clean diet, you're not going to probably have the results that you want to see. A lot of people, and probably these listeners, you want to get ripped, you want to get strong. Well, a lot of the abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym, so you've got to do your work. And it's not even work, it's just living a lifestyle. Again, kind of going back to sustainability, got to find what works. I mean, you can go through peaks and valleys as long as you, with your strength, with your health, are directionally always trying to go up and to the right. Kind of like the stock market, just try to follow that trend. You're going to have ups and downs. Everybody does. But, as long as you can manage those falling off the cliffs, you can keep climbing back up. So.
Man, that's interesting because when I worked out with you guys in whatever it was, 2011, I believe it was then, I was working out a lot. I mean, a lot. And, for you guys, I was just working out once a week,
Yeah.
which was plenty. Some guys go twice a week,
Yeah.
which, you can do that. And I guess it depends on your body type and all sorts
Yeah.
of different factors. But I was doing a lot of stuff on top of that. And when I DEXA scanned myself, which was a little bit later, I think I was no longer with you guys, and part of the reason for that was like I had a massive travel schedule, and life comes up
Yeah.
and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
of
But
course.
when I DEXA scanned myself, I was 22% body fat. Now I was in shape. I mean, I was in shape by any means that you would measure fitness
Yeah.
and what I could do, but still, all that fat. And I did a podcast with Keith. Talked me into going full bore paleo. I was probably going like 80-20 or 70-30.
Yeah.
To me, that's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, it just came off. And for you guys, if you're measuring with calipers, you might be going 22%. That's huge.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you're going DEXA scan, it's a little bit different of just stay consistent with whatever you're measuring on. But
Yeah.
DEXA scan is very, very accurate. There's arguably one other measurement that might be a little bit more, but it's
Yeah, I mean, it's become the gold standard in kind of academia and research. And I'd definitely say if you have access to a DEXA scan, oftentimes, well, there are businesses now that are based around DEXA scans.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, at least I see it, is that universities offer it for some type of fee. So I would just say and encourage listeners that is the gold standard. If you have access to one, if you're in a college town, university town, you probably have access to one. You just need to check it out. And yeah, just be consistent with it because it's a little bit of a humbler because there's a lot of
Big
visceral
time.
fat and other things that calipers do not pick up. DEXA scan picks up everything.
Yeah.
And so you're usually higher on a DEXA scan than you are on some of the other methods.
And I think, I got down to about 14%, and that was ripped, man.
Yeah, yeah.
That was in my mind shredded.
14% on a DEXA scan, is like a 7% on a caliper kind of
Yeah.
reading. I mean, it's ripped. Yep.
But okay, so this brings us back something else, and like I'm trying to wrap my head around this. I talked to you guys a little bit about it, but I am really infatuated, and I think this is a big part of the 21 convention, getting back to what we are made to be, what we were born to be.
Yeah.
And you're around Keith, you're around the Paleo FX, you're around all these guys, man, these huge minds, Skylar, I mean, it's like freaking being around the ultimate athlete and the ultimate PhD athlete. I mean, it's just these crazy minds of people that are driving forward. What is, how does that fit into what you guys are doing? Because you're running a business, you have all this awesome efficiency, this high technology, but I think for you, the standard is a little bit beyond that. When I bring up, born to be and what your body's meant to be and born to be healthy, what does that mean? What is our natural state of health?
Yeah, well, I think unfortunately we're far from it. If you say what we're born to be, you can look back at a great book called Manthropology. It's MAN Anthropology. We can see that. I mean, and I'm just saying this as again, the DEXA scan's a humbler. We're probably as strong as some females back then. I mean, and that kind of it kind of there are probably many females of those eras that could beat us in arm wrestling. It's just we have kind of digressed, if you will, in our health and especially our strength. And that's unfortunate. Now we can, even if we're dealt a bad genetic hand, we can reverse some of that. So don't get discouraged. I just want to, kind of give perspective that you said, are we close to where we're born to be? And I think the answer there is no, but we can make strides, back towards it. And then you also said something about, just being around great minds. Our whiteboard sessions that we have every Monday are just a lot of fun, and it does look like a beautiful mind in our war room, if you will, sometimes where we just have all sorts of ideas, and we're I think all of us, I shouldn't say all of us, but a lot of us are kind of this combination of right brain, left brain, to where we like to think creatively, like what's next, but then we also like to come back to the science and the research and say, well, does that work? And we have a great balance in chemistry right now, and I'm just, I'm thankful that we've got that going. And something like Paleo FX, for example, is a great opportunity for people to check out what is this ancestral idea, this ancestral lifestyle. It's not literally going back to the cave and the spear, Although, there's some there's some goodness, if you will, to being out in nature and things like that. But it's checking out what are the practical steps if you want to get back to what you're saying, born to be. What are some practical steps, kind of where the rubber meets the road of trying to get back there? And it basically relates to kind of a nutrient dense whole foods diet. Some call it paleo, but again, there's even derivatives of that. I don't like to get stuck in the minutia. And then also, some type of exertion that relates to resistance training. And again, if you have the right tools or great tools, perfect. But you can still do it with body weight and with other lesser means and lower tech tools if that's all you have access to.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting. You brought up that, let's say, females, over 10,000 years ago, that were growing up in kind of a tribal culture or society, or even tribal cultures now, that their strength capacity is more than, would you say, the average man, or even guys who work out in the gym?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at some of that book, because I referenced, but I think that an average female then is stronger than an average man now. I will definitely say that.
Yeah. It's a low average. But that's interesting because I think with a lot of stuff with paleo and a lot of stuff with, as we're getting into this, and even in your niche of efficient exercise, we get so caught up in the efficiency and we don't get back into what it was really meant to do. Mm-hmm. So I see a lot of guys in the exercise or fitness industry. It's almost like we're getting so efficient that we miss the point, and we almost get obsessive with all this sort of stuff, and we get more stressed out and I haven't heard you talk too much, but man, what I hear Skylar and Keith and really what's coming out of stuff at the Paleo FX and everything really coming out of your camp is all sharing this message that we have to be entirely healthy in a way. And I remember asking Keith years ago, I mean at least 3 years ago, what is stress? Yeah. And he's like, man, the body, from what we know now, he gave a real humble answer. He's like, from what we know now, we believe that stress is anything that is stress. Yeah. And that's going to throw off your nervous system. And when your nervous system is thrown off, you're not thinking the same. Your speed isn't the same. Everything about you is taken down to a different expression, I guess you could say. And that's where a lot of us are functioning on, which is a bummer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anything, exercise is a stress in and of itself.
Right.
It's a stress that, if done properly, produces a better result. But nonetheless, it's a stressor to the body, and a lot of people don't like to think about that. Now, conversely, you are absolutely right. There's some kind of, high-intensity training advocates, which nuts and bolts of high-intensity training has great premises. It's directionally accurate, don't get me wrong. But there are people that will take that to the extreme. Just like a paleo diet, for example, they can take that to an extreme, where, it's not about working out for 10 minutes a week in the right way and then sleeping, sitting on the couch, eating Cheetos. I mean, you have to move. You should be doing some other things. And then obviously just keeping your mind active. And again, what this type of workout has done for me personally is it's allowed me to be an entrepreneur. It's allowed me to be a family man. It's allowed me to do so many more things because I just have to be honest. I don't love the weight room like I used to, and that's okay. I still obviously am very invested in it and invested into developing the right tools, but it just doesn't quite do it for me, if you will, like it used to. And that's totally okay. But I'm excited, if you will, by other things, and so I think we have to discover that. And to me, the exercise done properly is this kind of springboard, if you will. And the lifestyle of kind of like a paleo ancestral diet lifestyle is just a springboard to allow you to be a free thinker, to be, kind of what as you're saying, born to be. It gives you more energy, more strength, more endurance, kind of everything. Really, if you're doing it, it's going to propel you, if you will, to be a better man, better person.
And actually, I mean, I'll say for myself, really in 2012, the conclusion that I came to was before then, God, I can't do the math. I'm 37 now. So 3 years ago, I was 34, right? So from 30 to 34, I was working out, trying to do everything, doing whatever. It started out with the Bill Phillips book. And, for the time, that was awesome. That was great, and actually now I love looking at him because he was such a great marketer for that book. I mean,
he really was.
My God, you look at that thing, it's like the best copywriting ever. But Man, and that helped me out. And then there were other different things, doing like plyometric stuff, doing running, whatever, and just trying to find my niche within it. And as soon as I switched the diet, and you think better, and there's so much that I could talk about my experience with that. But the main thing was that I no longer had to chase an image of health.
Yeah.
It wasn't really about like my body. It was kind of accepting. It was like, oh, well, I'm this, and this is really how I think I'm supposed to be. Yeah. So let's try and maintain that and use that as a little bit of
a and you mentioned marketing, and that just kind of sparked something in me.
It always does.
Yeah. It's always, it's unfortunate. I'm not sure there are many other industries other than the world of fitness, and you can probably come up with some examples, but that marketing is so powerful. In other words, it can be away from the science, it can be away from what actually works over, again, in a sustainable way. But it's so powerful that people, pick up on it, and that's what they do. And the fitness world, almost like no other, has these trends. And it just cycles through. And if you've been around long enough, you quickly see there's nothing new under the sun. It's like, this is just another version of what came out in 1989. Anyway, it's comical yet sad, So I get frustrated sometimes in that, a marketer, or a really good marketer, would be ahead of us, if you want to call it that, because they're a good marketer. And so that's one of the struggles that we have is, I don't think anyone on our team is naturally like a good marketer. So, things like this do help, though, to just kind of get the message out and hopefully spread a good word of, hey, check out what is going on, because, I think it's a different enough approach where again, I know some of the listeners probably already somewhat adopt a high intensity training lifestyle and a paleo lifestyle, because Anthony's been kind of, sending that message out for a while now. But I think that unfortunately we're still, especially in the health and fitness world, just smashed by all these like awful trends, awful gadgets, and people still believe that crap, which just baffles me sometimes.
Well, I think what's interesting, or probably one of the coolest things, is what I've seen with you guys. Because like I said, the first time I saw it was in 2009 or 2012, and just seeing the company grow, seeing the skill set grow. Man, you've always had great trainers around you, but man, it's more, and it's more obvious. So it's weird, to measure yourself by the outside world in any industry that can get exploited, much like health and fitness, and to have a progression is really that natural flow. And man, that's the other thing too, is like when we, hey, maybe we should talk about the entrepreneurship, because
why not?
What has kept you, when did that bug get set off in you? Because you said at first weight room, you dug that, you had some passion. Well, you still have passion, but
and again, don't get me wrong, I'm a pretty laid back guy, and it's hard to really see me, fluctuate emotions very much. My kids might tell you different, but yeah, I mean, I think, I'll try to kind of trace some steps back. I grew up with strength training literally all around me. My dad and I had a, kind of worked together, and we got a lot of help. But we had a garage, or I shouldn't say garage. It was actually a physical wood structure, like a barn, that we converted into a gym when I was growing up. So that was my playground, quite literally. And that was the first, I don't know if you want to call it Zen-like moment, but like, I'm slightly introverted, I'm kind of right in the middle between introvert and extrovert, but what energizes you as an introvert is being alone. And that time in the gym and my formative years of growing up in the backyard gym is really what just kind of did it for me. I'm like, wow, there's something special here. And maybe it wasn't until maybe athletic endeavors that I kind of realized, like, oh, that shit was really helpful. But it really didn't even matter. Like, it didn't matter about a blue ribbon or whatever. It was just that time really was special. And so, then there was a lot of me that just was like, well, yeah, athletes do this all the time, but like, can the normal guy do this? Can the normal person do this? So there was that fuel of like, how do you bring this to just kind of the regular guy? And so, I went to University of Texas. I've been here in Austin ever since. It's a hard place to leave. You probably can vouch for that. And had many years of debauchery and a lot of fun here. But when I cleaned up my act, I did finally graduate and got hired on by the university in the athletics department. And looking back, a lot of it was actually business skill development. In '97, they took a big turn towards let's make this a business. They trademarked their logo at UT. They did a lot of things that are very business oriented, which looking back was great experience for me, just kind of being around some of that. And what was frustrating was seeing what was going on in the weight room. I just I was a little frustrated. I don't have to go into great detail, but I just knew that working for athletes or with athletes is fun in some ways, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I think the fulfillment didn't come because one, I have that kind of entrepreneurial bug, if you will, and a university is a bureaucratic environment, which I can't stand. And then two, the people that you're serving, if you will, I don't know, maybe they're just not appreciative enough of kind of what their genetic hand is in life. And, maybe an athlete's a bit of an entitled egoist sometimes.
Sure.
That's okay. But it's like the people that don't have a great genetic hand or might have some kind of debilitation or something along those lines, those people are really fun to work with. And we work with, I think it's 75 to 80% of the people that come into efficient exercise have something, as we call, some level of brokenness. Rotator cuff, knee, back, hip, whatever it is. So they have something going on. So in Austin, that is one of the ways we're kind of known as, hey, we can work around kind of whatever your issue is. So I think going into the entrepreneurial side is I knew I couldn't stand, being in a bureaucracy, if you will, and being in that type of everything takes forever to make change. So I started, looking back, I'm kind of laughing at myself. I was basically using the UT facilities in an illegal way. I'll say that now. I was training people in the facilities that weren't a part of the UT system. So anyway, put it out there. Come get me. But I was doing that and realized this is more what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people that were outside of the athletic sphere, if you will. And so started at my first place in Northwest Austin, and I still live right around it. But anyway, it was very small, very humble beginnings, if you will. And like you said, none of our places are that giant. It's not think big box gym, and it's kind of the antithesis of that. We're way different than that. We're much smaller. We're trying to make it a more personal approach. And that was one of the fires for starting the way that we did. Is I felt like there's so many people that probably hate the gym. Well, why not come see a business like us? So, yeah.
Well, that was the Anthony will kill me, but the guy that started Nautilus, his whole approach. Yeah.
Arthur Jones. Yep.
Yeah, his whole approach was to change the way that you could experience fitness, which is now the norm.
Yeah.
Before it was like weights, hot area. Like kind of an oppressive environment. And he was like, no, man, we could have machines that are safe, that anybody could do in an air-conditioned environment so that everybody could have health. But you guys are taking it a step further, and I think that's interesting because in your business model, you're kind of like a boutique of...
Yeah, I guess you will. I mean, Arthur Jones was definitely an influence in my world as well. And just a real quick backtracking, my father, who is an internist, went to school with Ellington Darden. They were high school classmates, and so
that guy's a personality.
Yeah. So he was one of Arthur's right hand men. Jim Flanagan. There were several of them. So I kind of knew about all that stuff, but I was in a smaller town in Texas, and there was not a Nautilus gym. One finally did come, and my eyes were wide open. I was like, wow. So this is what I've been hearing about. This is kind of the experience, if you will. So that definitely played into my formative years. I went from backyard gym to that. I think they, again, business owners and gym owners oftentimes are dunces when it comes to business, but I think it failed at some point. And so then we had to, I had to scrap around for where I was going to work out after that. But no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with some guy that saw something and did something right in many ways. He was directionally accurate. Again, I'll say that. I mean, now we know some of the research and some of the things that he was speculating might not have been entirely correct, but that's okay. For his time, he was definitely an innovator. And really, since that time, I haven't seen a whole hell of a lot come out that's very innovative in our world.
Yeah. And so you guys, I mean, one of your business models for efficient exercise was to make, it has this feel that it is very clinical, extremely personal, and very high tech.
Yeah. And I think the clinical, we want to be clinical, but not come off so stark, if you will.
Right. Totally.
Yeah, like Ken Hutchins really drove home, kind of this clinical approach to exercise, and I was Super Soul certified back when. And again, I always try to see the good in a lot of systems, a lot of people, whatever. And there was some good in that. I mean, he was a systematic guy, maybe to a fault in some ways, but he still drove home a lot of these kind of exercise is medicine type of principles that we still try to implement, but yet we don't have to do it in a white lab coat under fluorescence.
Right.
I mean, it's nothing on the walls and no personality. I mean, no, I mean, people are people. People like other people, and that's one of the ways that we've thrived as well. Is I feel like our people are good. They're good people, or they're good-hearted people. So I think that's, aside from the fact that they know what they're doing. You got to be a relatable person. And if you can't talk to people, you're probably not going to have much success as an efficient exercise trainer. So, yeah.
Man, this is, when I went to the last 21 convention that was in 2014,
Yeah.
A lot of the guys there, this was a huge thing, were focusing on business, how to set it up, how to structure it. And you have found progressive people. I mean, man, people that are doing amazing things. I mean, Paleo FX is on the map of, I mean, it's just such a huge event.
Yeah. Which, quick plug, I mean, definitely check it out, paleofx.com, and look at the event in April in Austin. It's so worth it. It's, again, it's one of those things, until you experience it, you don't really know kind of how great it is. So,
right.
Yeah. Sorry for interjecting.
No problem. How is it that you found such great people? Because, man, I mean, that makes your job so much easier.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, that's extremely difficult.
I mean, I can kind of go back to key people in the business sphere that I've found. Skylar, I had done an internship when I was at the University of Texas, when I decided to finally get my act together and finish up after withdrawing for a bit and getting back into school. I was out in the Scottsdale area, and Skylar was a high school student out there at that time. Wow. And so when Skylar was out there, I don't remember exactly how it went, but he was like the youngest super slow certified trainer at the time. I think he was 17. He'd probably be able to correct me. I don't know. Maybe he was a senior. I can't remember. But I was like, hey, man, just take me through a workout. And I knew, like, hey, this kid has something. Like I just saw it right then. I was like, okay, I'll take a mental note of that. And I knew I was going to be starting a business and everything. And so I, at some point, reached back out to him. Was like, hey, man, do you want a job? I'm opening up a new place. It's got your name on it. And he visited Austin, and kind of the rest was history there. So he's been with me, I think, coming up on 11 years now. So it's yeah. And then with Keith, there was another manager that I had at the time, and it was one of those get the rug pulled out from under you experiences, but one of those like silver lining was way better than than I would have expected getting Keith, because he was looking to move back to Central Texas to get out of corporate pharmaceutical world, which I don't know if you know much about his story, but he kind of went into that thinking he was going to help people and realized, oh, this is not the path to help people. And so it was just a timing thing that Skylar was the connector there. And I was talking to Keith through online stuff and said, look, I just lost a manager. You'd be a perfect fit. You want to come down and check it out? He did, and he's been here ever since. So really, I mean, there's some, I don't know if you want to just say just kind of serendipitous, if you will, to having people that come at the right time. And I think, oftentimes as an entrepreneur, you have this ebb and flow, but you have to control certain things. But you also have to let go and not be in control and recognize kind of the flow, whatever you want to call it, of why is this person in my life? Why is that and try to always kind of ask those questions. Like, well, it's not like every person you meet, and in my opinion, is going to be the next person to work together or partner up with. But again, there's just kind of these things that happen that sometimes, if you're open to it, you can realize, well, maybe that should be pursued, or maybe that should be pursued. So, and again, I don't know if that's taught as much as experienced, if you will. I mean, you can tell people that, but then you have to go out and kind of experience it and kind of integrate it yourself. So,
man, I think what's unique about your take on this is that you've cultivated not just two, but multiple, like really excellent, guys who help out in your business. but also they've progressed to do their own things, and
Yeah.
you've let that.
Yeah.
Whereas most businesses will then brand that and try and own it and own
Yeah.
the intellectual property. So where does that come from? Was that learned, or is that just an ideal that you?
Yeah,
you
I mean,
had?
that's a good question. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, like I said, I do try to see the good in people, and I've learned the hard way, and other times with other people around me that, like, I've been burned, a lot of times, and
Right.
that's probably from me trying to see the good in people, and then I get taken advantage of, and so I've also learned that I do need some people around me sometimes to kind of protect that. One of them just being, hey, I've got a attorney sister. So she helps kind of set some boundaries for me, and is always trying to keep up with the next thing that I've got going on. So, but again, it's not like, by any cost, I want to avoid legal stuff. Although, yeah, I
Right.
mean, in business, I've been a part of that, and it's kind of one of those things you get through. But I think that, yeah, to your point, I think you just, you try to empower people more than limit them. And I think you're right. I think, call it ego, call it pride, whatever. Some people can't get past, like, hey, this is my shit. This is my world. I've created it. When this new guy's coming in, he's not going to do anything that is not under my control. And it's like, well, you're just limiting yourself and the possibilities there by limiting the people that have strengths and skills. So, I mean, I always try to look for, like, the top 2 or 3 things that I have to do in this particular business, and then everything else kind of gets funneled off to somebody else. And of course, in startup world, you're doing everything. But if you can quickly, in a sense, fire yourself, you're doing the right thing.
Man, that is easier said than done. And
Oh,
that's
yes,
a whole
yeah.
bunch of great, taking it back to Keith's old blog, but that's a whole bunch of great theory, but putting it into practice is, man, like,
Yeah.
that is really, really difficult. And I rarely see that. I rarely see that with all of the people that I know, and just living in Austin, a bunch of people that have businesses and all this sort of thing. But man, that's freaking crazy. So then what? You got efficient exercise going. These guys just, these different trainers that you hire, they take it to, a full expression. And you get multiple locations, and that was quick. I mean, I remember. You guys got like 3 or whatever locations, and it just grew, very rapidly.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, this ARX thing, let's do this.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of purposely knew internally that we had some growth going on. It was great stuff. But one of the biggest hurdles we have is, how do we teach other people to do what we do? And so we knew that if we develop these tools and take our time and develop ARX properly, that's going to help propel this growth, if you will, and this expansion of being able to implement proper exercise kind of literally around the world. And so, it was a methodical process and painstaking at times. And, I'm kind of a sprinter versus a marathon runner. So it's been a challenge for me. I'll say I've had probably one of the most challenging years of all my life, the last 12, 18 months, but yet one of the most rewarding years of all my life. So we're doing things that we all enjoy, and we all are moving forward in doing this. But yeah, it can be challenging, and it's just, I guess kind of keeping with the entrepreneurial spirit is just, I just want to encourage people, if they've got this passion, just work hard at it, and you got to be methodical, but you've also got to, kind of be enduring, if you will. Like, it's not going to be easy. And if you don't have, it's kind of like you got it or you don't. I think athletes are kind of this way. If you kind of have that drive and determination, you'll get through it. And then if you don't, maybe you need to look elsewhere for other things. Sometimes you got to say no. So, yeah.
Man, yeah. No, the entrepreneurship, I think, is just such a great thing. One, we live in a country and a society where we can do it very easily. And, man, I just look at it this way in terms of, like the diet and fitness. I have my own expression of my body. One thing Doug McGuff said to me, he's like, we're not all Keith Norris. Stop trying to fit that. You can look at it for a point of reference when you don't have one. But entrepreneurship, just like diet and fitness, you got to find your own expression and what that is. But man, when you bounce, look, man, I've never really seen a guy do what you do that, I have personal contact with, that has really trained up these guys to their own independent expression and allowed them to do it. rather than try and rebrand or market it or have this kind of scarcity mentality that is, man, huge around the fitness industry. Just massive.
Well, yeah, I mean, I sometimes say, that I'm surrounded by artists and they're going to continue to paint, and I just got to keep brokering these deals. I got to keep kind of allowing these to get out there because it's different enough and unique enough that again, it's way beyond my own personal expression. It's way beyond me. So I'm just trying to do what I can to, again, kind of a personal motto is get out of the way. I have to remind myself of that quite often. Where again, if I can be in the way by doing things that are good on the outside. It's like, yeah, you're doing this, you're doing that, but it's like, well, if I'm limiting kind of the propelling of the overall growth, then I need to get out of the way.
Man,
so,
this concept of firing yourself or getting out of the way. Yeah. What are some, if you can, I know, I'm kind of like, well, hey, it's a podcast, but I'm just, I'm attacking you with this question, but man,
no.
What are some of the things that lead up to that? Like how do you strategize, to get that to happen?
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's talk about like finances, for example. People, you're right. Not everyone has endless capital, nor do I. And so you do still have to, at the end of the day, think wisely about what you're spending money on, and know that you have to spend money to make money. And I think that, it's not, don't be scared of spending money, but you have to be calculated with those risks. And so I think that, you have to do, still start with a plan. You can't just, go at it and be like, I'm going to do this. I love it. And not have a plan. So you still have to have a plan. But I think the people that are successful that I've seen are able to get wrenches thrown at them and quickly change that plan and quickly adapt. And so I think that that's really one of the key factors, if you will, for success in business or in life in general, is just adapt to change as quickly as you can. If you're an instigator of change, you also have to be an adapter to that change. And so I think that there are people that have a really hard time with change. And if that's you, probably don't be an entrepreneur because change is going to get thrown your way left and right. You're going to be Bruce Lee dodging it like water. And you just have to accept it and embrace it. And sometimes, again, that change can again just be the propellant to something bigger and better. So,
yeah. And man, for guys who are like young entrepreneurs who are looking to this, man, this was amazing. There were guys. I mean, I don't know when you started your business, but for me to even think about business really before, 30 or 28, it was kind of impossible for me because my brain was just going so many different directions.
Yeah.
Now there's these kids. I want to say you guys are kids, but they're successful and they stay successful, which is really crazy.
Yeah.
Because I bet against them, a lot of times, but seeing them year after year, it's like there's these young men who are just getting it way too quick. Yeah. And man, what would you say are some tips for those guys who are looking to start their own business? Well,
I mean, I think it's you're a Generation Xer as well. Yeah. And I think that, we all have our place. I think with Generation X right now, we've lived long enough to know that you've got these kids, as we would call them, that are coming up. I think the biggest advice I'd give to the millennials or hell, I don't even know what the younger generation than that is called, but is don't carry out that sense of entitlement. Like, there is a little bit of old school work hard that still is valuable. So don't get me wrong there. And sometimes for some people life comes easy. Hey, that's great for them. But a lot of people that have been successful have had to go through obstacles, had to overcome things. But to their credit and to their advantage, we didn't grow up with the internet and all this stuff that they have just grown up with and don't know any different. There's huge power in getting kind of your message, whatever that be, out there. And I think that's the key to success on a lot of those people is leverage this technology that's out there to be of good. Technology is going to continue to evolve and come out faster than any time ever in history. And, just use the technology that is going to be of use and be valuable, because sometimes technology is not. And so I think as kind of maybe Generation X, we've learned to be able to kind of ebb and flow some of that. So like, even though the phone is always around and we could always be doing stuff, I think sometimes you have to be, aware enough to put it down, stop it. I try to, and I'm I'm criticized by some of the ones closest to me sometimes for this, but I try to have a very strict on-off schedule. And I'm not saying I'm perfect about it. When I'm off, I can't contribute to the business or to whatever it is. And it's, sorry, you called me after 7 p.m. Sorry, I'm not going to be available for you that particular day. And I think, again, trying to give credit where credit's due, some of those millennials have that on-off already kind of ingrained more than maybe what we grew up with. And so, just keep doing what you're good at, and again, leverage that technology. But because a business, even efficient exercise to start up, is not an expensive business, but it's not an inexpensive business either. And there are so many businesses now that have really changed kind of what a quote business is. And so I think, really the advent of the internet, blogs, YouTube, everything that is out there that can be valuable has changed the way these people can do business. So as Generation X, I think we can learn from them sometimes, like, oh, that's how you're doing this. Oh, that's how you're, so, and then to those guys, I think they just need to maybe look to kind of our generation to say, these guys have put in probably more hard work than us. They've lived a little longer, kind of more as the guidance and the wisdom, if you will, along that path, because they just, haven't had enough life experience sometimes to know when shit hits the fan, what do I do?
Yeah.
So,
personally, I still don't trust anybody business wise that hasn't lost everything yet, because that's, I mean, that's when the true expression comes out. I mean, we see that in so many different ways of life and yada, yada, yada. But man, I think one thing where technology we have to be careful of is like diet and fitness. I mean, the more technological we became as a species, the more screwed up we got. Now, our lifespans went longer. Yeah. But man,
did the quality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think, one area that I think is going to evolve and impact health and fitness in a huge way pretty soon, and it already is the biometric data. And one reason we've created ARX, for example, the way that we've done is we hope to be pioneers on the resistance training side of biometric data. There's a lot of, Fitbit, Nike, I think even Apple's jumped in this game of kind of tracking, your pedometer type of stuff, heart rate and all that. Heart rate variability is another one. So my question is, now what? Okay, we have all this data, now what? So I think that's the question to be answered in the next several years. Is we're starting to kind of, call it biohack or call it just find out information about ourselves. What are we going to do with it? And I don't think we really have all the answers yet.
Yeah.
But that's the way to leverage this technology and this knowledge and this data to our advantage, because there might be some things that we, like you said, there's definitely some lifestyle factors that are hurting us. We know that, but how do we tap into what we can do to improve our overall health and well-being?
Man, it's so amazing. There's probably even now with all the technology we have, I mean, surely even now, there's so many little things that are probably hurting us. There's so many little things that we thought were helping us as we were growing up that were, causing so many problems. And, I'm sure there's a long list of other things, but, and I really feel this is what I like. Actually, what you guys bring an interesting mix. It's very unique is that high technology, but also, I don't want to put words in you guys' mouth, but it seems that the standard really is your, what we evolved to be and getting back to that nature. And, just even reading certain articles by Keith or conversations and articles with Skylar and Keith, just going back to a community, what's going to make us socially happy. And man, it's just a very cool thing.
And Keith has said this, I'll just quote him, leveraging modern technology to achieve ancestral wellness. So, again, use technology when it's valuable, because, cavemen didn't have ARX or cavemen didn't have some of these tools. And so that does mean we can create more powerful doses, if you will, of some of these things like exercise. So I don't think that's a bad thing. And then I think what that does is allow us to use our mind more instead of just survival mode, like a caveman, for example, is progression and evolving, because there's huge potential if we put our minds to the right things.
Yeah. No, man. Yeah, very cool. One last kind of thought that I want to
Yeah.
get back towards is, guys really looking to get in shape. And I think people tuning into this podcast,
Yeah.
you know, see you as that one of your main things.
Yeah.
What is some, advice that you could give to somebody that, is
Yeah.
trying to sort through all the health and fitness stuff
Yeah.
out there? Because there's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much. And they, man, like me, when I was 30,
Yeah.
I hadn't worked out, didn't know what to do. And I just finally shut up and listened to a
Yeah.
friend and said, all right, I'm going to get this book and do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I made it 6 weeks. I didn't do the full 90 days, but man, it helped. It sold me. And then I
Yeah.
found other
Yeah.
stuff and
Yeah.
went from there. But what is
Yeah.
something that a guy, man, just, trying to find everything and, is trying to find a ground zero or a point of reference
Yeah.
in fitness?
Yeah.
Where can he go?
Well, I mean, if it glitters, probably run away. So
Yeah.
keep it simple. Again, we've designed kind of what we do around resistance or strength training work. So I think if you're going to exercise, knock out your proper resistance training or strength training first and foremost, and design that around the kind of, we call it push, pull, drive. I mean, we try to keep things really simple. What's a push? Well, anything that kind of drives force away from your body. Flat bench type of press, overhead press, incline press, decline press, dips, anything along those lines. So we have push, pull, drive. So the pull, some type of chinning motion or pull down or rowing motion. Okay, do that. And then drive. That can be something like a leg press, a squat, or a deadlift, or a squat lift, or a trap bar deadlift, something like that. Just find, if you would look at kind of my workout routines, and even to a certain degree, Keith's or Skylar's, I mean, Skylar has a little more variety, but it fairly boring and simple. Like, it doesn't have to be like, well, he did, one arm, this. No, I mean, that's for fun if you want to do that. But just the basics are what you want to start with. And then the basics on the food side of things is I would say I would look for nutrient dense foods that give you high quality protein and fat. And then I'm not like a complete low carber, like where carbs are horrible, but just recognize what they do to you. They can make you gain some weight, which is sometimes good weight in some genetics and sometimes bad weight for other people. So just recognize kind of what they do. And so again, keep it simple, keep it safe, effective, efficient, and again, look for those nutrient dense whole foods that they're going to fuel your body and your mind, for the long haul, for kind of this sustainable approach, if you will. Because if you get burned out doing something, that probably means there was too much, or it's too frequent, or some variable was off. So you got to find something. Maybe it's not as sexy to think about, well, I've got to do this for the rest of my life. Well, but it's kind of like brushing your teeth. If you just say, I don't like brushing my teeth, and you stop it, well, most people's teeth will rot. And so same thing with exercise. If you just commit to keep consistent with it, improvement starts to happen.
Yeah, man. Yeah, cool stuff. So what I hear is like something strength training wise, and definitely like look at that diet. Man.
And it also, again, then kind of on the other stuff, let's call it movement, that's still integral, but just find what you like to do instead of trying to make some activity like exercise in and of itself. Find something you like to do and go do it with that newfound strength. Kind of, we try to empower people with a bigger motor or better motor, more efficient motor. So if it's time on the mat, go do that. If it's time riding the bike, go do that. But it's finding whatever that's a little more individual, and don't try to prescribe that. Try to have fun with that.
Cool. Man, awesome. Where can people find out about you and all the different stuff that you have? ARX Efficient Exercise, Mark Alexander.
Yeah. Well, so our bricks and mortar training business, Efficient Exercise, kind of our 14-year-old baby now, efficientexercise.com. Our resistance training technology we developed is ARX, ARXFit.com. Again, co-founder of PaleoFX, the largest paleo gathering in the free world. That's at paleofx.com. And so you can check us out in all the social media channels as well, and above all of those. So
good stuff, man. Hey, we got to talk again, and surely I think we will. Just as I'm local, and I'm sure I'll be talking to Skylar and Keith. So
we want to get you back in again. So
no, man. Yeah, I got a plan, but yeah, totally, man. It's working out like nothing else.
Cool.
So awesome, man. Yeah,
all right.
Good talking.
Well, it's been good. All right. See you, Steve.
Yeah, later. Thank you guys so much for watching. You know how much we love to do this stuff and broadcasting out this beautiful message to the world of, man, how we can get into a better version of ourselves. That's what the 21 Convention is all about. And of course, go to the21convention.com. Get involved with us there. If you like what you see, sign up on our newsletter, talk to the different guys that are involved with our conventions. And of course, on this YouTube channel, leave a comment, connect with us. We love that interaction, and that's really why we do it. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and let's talk soon.